Welcome to the Good Fight Sports Podcast, your home for local sports here in the 574. Hello and welcome to the Good Fight Sports Podcast. This name is brought to you by Steve. He was the one who he did mention it when we were talking about a name for a sports podcast that I wanted to start. And
actually, it's more from the Bible.
Well, we found it in the Bible, but I mean, you were the one who did say, "How about the Good Fight?"
Yeah, the Good Fight. So
we're rolling with it. So we're on episode 2. And if you didn't listen to episode 1, basically we cover all the sports, local sports here in the 574 area. We also cover some college and pro teams, mostly Notre Dame, because I don't know why, but there's a big Notre Dame fan here, and he's the one that's talking right now.
Go figure.
We're gonna start off with some high school things. We're gonna talk about the LaVille football team and how they're gonna be next year.
Whoa! I just saw that yesterday.
Yeah,
the announcement. Did anybody know that ahead of time, or where did that come from? Probably got to tell everybody what we're talking about.
Right. So if you haven't heard, if you didn't listen to the first episode either, but the head coach, former head coach now of the LaVille Lancers, Will Hostrauser, is stepping down as head coach. He's also the athletic director, so he's going to stay at the school as an athletic director, but as head football coach, he's stepping down after 10 great years of his leadership. And but yeah, it was kind of surprising because I saw it in the morning on the WHME Facebook page.
HME broke the story, and I saw it too, and I go, "What?
I was surprised. I was like, "Why is he stepping down?" It's confusing because I mean, maybe he thought next year. Maybe he just thought it was time. I don't know, but
hard to say.
But I mean, with that, they also are going to be losing a lot of talent and a lot of starting players.
Yeah.
For next year, and it's going to be grueling next year. But if the Lancers want to get back to where they were, I mean, they're going to have to put in some hard work to get back to where they were. Not saying they're going to go undefeated again, but I mean, to continue the winning ways, it's going to be pretty hard. And also, the head coach stepping into what Hostrauser's built there. I mean, he went 79-33 in 10 years, 2 sectional championships, an undefeated season, 2 10-win seasons, a conference championship. I mean, the guy's got accolades. So, I mean, if any other high school wanted him, I mean, he's got the resume right there for you. But
well, the fact he didn't go someplace else, I don't know. And who knows? I mean, I haven't talked to Will about it, but to me, being a head coach in any sport and being the athletic director, especially given now with all of the, it's not only just the girls' athletics, it's now junior high, everybody and their brother, and it's good for everybody. I get it, but it's mind numbing right now just trying to get gym time during basketball season. Either like tomorrow, we got to practice from 7 to 9 tomorrow just to get gym time. And just, people don't understand it's not just the games that he's trying to manage the schedules. It's all the other things that go along with that game preparation. So, yeah, kudos to him. He's a great guy. I like Will and the program that he's built. And so, yeah, it's hard to say. After a while, if it's not any fun anymore, and I don't know again what happened, it's time to – and if you're going to go out, why not go out on top? I mean, it's a good season too. And I don't get the idea he probably bailed in any way, shape, or form. No, not at all. So, what do you think, Brady?
I mean, I think that he had a good career as a coach, and I think of any season to go out, to retire as the coach for LaVille, I think that was definitely the season to go. I mean, they had a really good, they were very senior stacked. I mean, they had great offense, great defense, very well, pretty much everything. I mean, I only went to, I think, 2 games, but those 2 games I went to were they were amazing. I went to the North Judson game for the,
for the
conference game. Yeah, that was great. And then went to an earlier one in the season, but it was a real great season by the Lancers, and Yeah.
I've never had a season where I had so many running clocks. Because
Oh my goodness,
you're
it
up by
was
35.
It
It's
was
like
ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, so I've been going to LaVille games for a while now. I went before Will was even a head coach. I went to 2, but I never watched the game because, I mean, back in the day, LaVille was not a team you went to go see play. You went to socialize. But when I joined the band and when Hochstrauser took over, I mean, LaVille was starting to win games, and not just win games, starting to blow people out. And then this year, I mean, they had like 8 running clocks,
right, something crazy like that,
and
yeah.
it was ridiculous. And I mean, just the fact that it was a team effort. It wasn't just one guy doing everything. It was the whole team doing everything, and they weren't led by just one person. I mean, it was the seniors of that team just leading them on and being like, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this how we want it to, and we're going to be how we want to be. And it was, from a grad of LaVille High School, it was great to see LaVille win football games. And it was sad when they lost to Andrean. I wanted them to go to state, as well as many LaVille people wanted them to go to state. But how they played this year, I think everyone should be proud of how they played.
It was a great year.
It was a really great year. So that said, now we're going to switch over to basketball. We're going to start with the LaVille boys basketball team. So they've had a bit of a rough patch. Before last night's game, they had lost 5 in a row. And I know when I've lost games, it's hard to get up for your next game. And so I could imagine last night all the pressure that the boys had on them, especially on the road at I wouldn't call it hostile, but I mean, so they went to Elkhart Christian. You don't know Elkhart Christian's gym.
Elkhart Christian, you wouldn't think it'd be a hostile. You don't want to put the word Christian and hostile together.
I choose hostile, not like the fans were like rowdy or anything, but I mean, the gym is so condensed. The fans are right on you,
right?
And they were into the game. It was homecoming for them, so there was a lot of people there, and so I mean they were loud. I mean it was a loud gym to play in. But Lancers came out and they were shaky at first, but they got up to the game and they got up I think by 11 points at one point, and let Elkhart Christian come back. So score tied 63-63. LaVille got a steal, went down, put it up, missed. Elkhart Christian got the rebound. The ball went out of bounds. LaVille ball with 3 seconds left.
Nice.
So Lancers call timeout, and I'm thinking, so they're either going to do one of 2 things. One, they're either going to lob it into Michael Good, because he was the tallest one out there, or it was going to be Collins Arnecki taking the last shot. So Lancers get the inbound, and they just lob it up to Michael Good, and he puts it right in with 1.8 seconds, and that was all she wrote.
Ball game.
That was all she wrote.
Wow.
So LaVille won 65-63 against ECA. Now, I am going to be a bit of a homer on the series because I've been on both sides of it. I've been on the Elkhart Christian side because I went there for a while, and I hate to say, sorry LaVille fans, I grew up not liking LaVille when I went to ECA.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
No.
That can't be the Kenny I know.
Well, see, now, I liked LaVille only for one reason.
Why is that?
Darren Cox.
Ah, okay. My
So,
nephew.
Yeah. So I liked Darren, but I didn't like LaVille. Now,
So did you ever confess that as a sin?
oh, I've already confessed that. I've repented from that. So I'm a new person now.
I'm a new creature in Christ. The old is gone, the new has come.
Yep, I've been baptized in the royal blue and white.
That's funny.
So
funny.
it's like Elkhart Christian. It's like I mean, I'm not a fan of them anymore, but I'm not saying I don't like them or dislike them. It's just meh. But series is tied 9-9.
Really?
Yeah. So I would call it a rivalry.
Really?
In my terms. I mean, it just feels like the teams.
It's
really
your podcast, man. You can call it whatever you want.
I feel like the teams really don't like each other.
Huh.
I mean, I know it's Christian, and I know it's a Christian school. Louisville plays a Christian school, but you get the feeling of like ECA comes out with like a chip on their shoulder because they're playing Michael Edison's team. They're playing Jack Edison. I mean, they have two Edisons who are known for high school basketball on the bench, and it's like Louisville is kind of known for basketball too, and ECA has nothing to lose.
Yeah,
they can just go out and play. Louisville's got all the pressure of trying to win.
Sure.
So I would call it a rivalry, and I am going to call it a rivalry. So now to Louisville girls basketball, and we happen to have the head coach of the JV.
Wow, I got a promotion, the head coach of the JV.
Are you a head coach?
Yeah. Well, I've never been called it. I'm always just a JV coach. I don't know.
I would call you the head coach of
the really?
JV.
All right. Well, I don't know where I am on the pecking order here.
Well, you're the head coach of the JV, and you're a coach for the varsity.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what that, and it doesn't make any difference. It's just always interesting what people refer to me. Hey, he's that guy over there. Okay. He's the guy that wears the lanyard all the time.
But yeah, we have
Brady. What do you think? What is there such a thing as a head JV coach, or am I just like the JV coach? That's kind of like he's like the other guy down on the totem pole.
I'm not sure, honestly. I mean, I think people would probably look at you and could probably tell you're the coach. I mean, just from
because I got a suit on.
Right? Yeah. But I mean, the difference between the head coach and just a coach on the JV. I mean, I wouldn't say there's too much of a difference because you're still leading that team and you're still, helping the players
Brady,
and everything.
thanks, man.
So
I appreciate it.
It's still a leadership position. So
thanks, man.
That's
I
always
appreciate
good.
it. Cool.
Okay, fine. I stand corrected. The coach of the JV then.
I'm the head coach now, Brady.
Well, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I was saying you're the head coach of the JV.
All right, nice.
Yeah. So we got the head coach of the JV girls here. That is Steve Cox. So, Steve, why don't you give us your takes on how the JV season's going?
Our JV, my JV currently right now is 13-2. We lost early on in the season to Culver Girls Academy, and that was we just went down to Culver and just got beat up. Basically, that's what happened. And then we laid an egg. We played last Saturday. We played Caston, beat Caston. Then we played Judson on Tuesday, laid an egg against Judson. And then we played really well Thursday, got back on the winning side and beat Knox. So we have struggled this year just with injuries, sicknesses. I've only got 7 girls, and of those 7 girls, 2 float back and forth as far as the varsity is concerned. So it would be easy for my girls to take a look at all the negative, whatever. And, man, we just play hard. We just play hard, and that's what I like. I don't have to say anything about 50-50 balls and people on the floor. And girls just diving into, and so it's a really fun group of girls. I don't have any attitude issues, and let's just cut to the chase. Sometimes on girls' teams you can have attitude. Guys' teams too, but we don't have any of those. It's a fun group. They want to listen. They want to learn. And we're getting ready to head into Bi-County Week with all expectations of doing well. And you don't cut down the nets if you win at the JV level, which kind of stinks. Because 2 years ago, my JV team won the Bi-County. And I'm thankful for the plaque that you get and all the pictures, blah, blah, blah. But it would be nice to cut down the nets. Yeah. So this year, if we win, I'm going to have somebody sneak a lateral over there.
I mean, you guys do play early on in the morning,
right.
So
So
theoretically you could cut down the nets.
We could, but anyway, it's okay. So it's a great group of girls. They work hard, and we're having a lot of fun.
So we're going to stick with the girls basketball team, but we're going to move over to the varsity team. The varsity team is doing, I would say, pretty well this year. They're 12-6, led by Nicholas Amore. Which I didn't know he was the head coach until I went to a game.
Okay.
no one told me that it was Nick Amor.
Right.
And I was like, oh, wow, Nick Amor. And it was like, oh, I know exactly what offense he's running.
Right.
It's what he learned under Michael Edison.
Sure. Basically, and what he learned down in Indiana State, too.
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of like melded the two.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are some times where I know what offense he's in, and other times it's like, oh, what's this? That's new.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I kind of do that differently, but who am I to say that? Because I'm just some guy in the stands who has a sports podcast and now can say I really don't like that play call there, Coach. But yeah, LaVille's doing pretty good in girls basketball. Now they're on to Bi-County now, and so it's like Bi-County. If you don't know Bi-County, if you're not from around here, hold on, let me say the 58th annual TCU Bi-County tournament.
Right.
Then just throw that out there now. Sure. The official name is, I would say, the tournament in St. Joe and Marshall counties.
Well, it's the tournament as far as, to me, it's one of the best tournaments in the state of Indiana.
Oh, for sure.
It's been going on, the rivalries that you'll have. And even today, on Saturday night, especially if you get Glenn and Bremen, Argus, and some of these other teams, the place is just jam-packed. And it's a great atmosphere, and it's the longevity of the whole thing. I think really what makes it really special as well.
So can you kind of give some of the backstory on how it got started?
Well, the backstory on the Bi-County is my dad, and
who's your dad?
My dad's Dale Cox, and so and then principal from over at New Prairie. It wasn't even New Prairie then. It was from New Carlisle. His name was Amzie Miller, and then Roland Young, who was the principal at La Paz. They're the ones that got this thing together, and it's Bi-County because at that point in time it was just St. Joe and Marshall County. Now it's added Stark, got OD is in it as well. But that's just the humble beginnings. They just put it together, and that's back in the good old days where John Glenn didn't even exist. It was North Liberty that played, and New Carlisle played. New Prairie and Glen weren't even consolidated at that point in time. So it just goes to show you how old I am. and it's the 58th, and I was 11 years old when it first got birthed. So it's like, I'm kind of like, I'm old. So, but that's just the humble beginnings of where it's gone, and it stays local. So you got all these local teams. See, part of what happens is we're beginning to lose some of the rivalries because. Like right now, we're down in the HNAC, so we're playing all these teams down there, and Bremen, these guys are all in the NIC now, and a lot of times some of these rivalry games just don't happen anymore because of conference schedules they have to be, and so the Bi-County has a tendency to just put teams back together that normally 20, 30 years ago played all the time, but don't maybe see each other on the regular season schedule. So I think that's why it just creates that level of intensity. As far as just rivalries are concerned, and just makes for a great atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. So here's I'm going to give the pairings of the tournament here, and I think this is the same for. Yeah, it is the same for varsity girls, boys, and I believe JV. If I'm wrong, Steve, about the JV pairings, please correct me.
I will.
So we got Bremen at Triton, New Prairie at Glen, Argus at Culver, and then Oregon Davis at LaVille. And those are the pairings for the tournament. The JV plays Monday, tomorrow.
Right, except we drew a bye into Wednesday because on the JV side, Argus, Oregon Davis, and Bremen don't have a JV.
Ah, okay.
So that's the only one. Everybody else is the same. So the Bremen, the JV boys, will play tomorrow night. And the JV girls will not play tomorrow night because we're going straight into the semifinals against Culver because who's Culver supposed to play?
Argus.
Yeah, Argus doesn't have a JV.
Okay.
And we were supposed to play. Who were we supposed to play initially?
Oregon Davis.
Yeah, OD doesn't have that. So we immediately went into the semifinals. So Glen and New Prairie on the JV are going to play each other, and then Triton then drew a bye because Bremen didn't have a JV either. So if that was confusing to everybody, that's okay. Brady, was that clear as mud?
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, they're not like super big. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that they don't have a JV squad. It is kind of interesting though that you guys are already in the semifinals because you don't even have to play those earlier on. So that's kind of nice, but.
Yeah, I mean, in one sense it is, but in another sense, it's good to play. I mean, you get back to it. Would you rather play or get an automatic? And I like being in the semifinal round. Don't get me wrong, but also it'd be nice to play because now we're going to go. Except we had an NBA schedule last week. We played Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday last week. We played 3 games in 6 days last week, so it was kind of nice to
get some rest.
But yeah. So so it's nice to. I mean, it is what it is. But some of the schools struggle sometimes to put together a JV squad, and we're very fortunate that we have one.
Yeah. That's speaking of struggling, Oregon Davis girls are the epitome of struggling now.
Really?
They are.
What's their record?
5-14.
Ooh!
Wow.
Now Oregon Davis used to be known for girls basketball. They were Terry Minix, their former head coach, led them to I think 3 state championships.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and they won at least 17 games a year. And I mean, they didn't just win.
Yeah. They
blew you out of the gym, and they continued to blow you out of the gym even though you were getting blown out. Mm-hmm. And it was. I was kind of happy he left.
And didn't care.
He didn't care. He would leave the starters in, and it was I really didn't mind him leaving because I didn't like him. I never met him, but he just seemed like one of those guys that he gave me a handshake and be one of those. Ugh.
Brady, what do you think about people who judge other people without never meeting them? What do you think?
I mean, there's certain grounds to it, I guess, but honestly. You got to meet someone to know, really.
I'm not trying to call you out here, Kenny, but...
Yeah, you are.
Oh, okay.
Let's just go like it is.
I mean, they do say don't meet your heroes because they will usually disappoint you. But if they're not your hero and you haven't met them, then I don't know what to say. I'm not sure about that.
That was deep.
Yeah.
That was really deep. So, sorry. Just messing with you, man.
All right, fine. Terry Minix, if you're listening, hit us up on our email. You can find that at ccflugnutspodcast.com. Send us an email.
Kenny would love to go out and lunch with you. He'll buy.
I'm on the podcast.
Yeah.
Just shoot over an email and we'll talk. We're going to stay on the girls' side. We're going to switch to a completely different team. South Bend, Washington. South Bend, Washington girls are 19-0. Ranked number 1 in their class, number 1 in the state, and they're ranked number 10 in the U.S.
Oh, they were number 8 last time I saw in the U.S., so they maybe dropped a little bit.
Well, according to Max Preps, I use Max Preps, and they're number 10.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, being number 10, in the state, or not state, sorry, you said the U.S.?
In the country,
In the
yeah.
country.
In the country.
I would expect that, most of those out of 10 are probably out in, California or... What's the number 1?
So here's the top 10 states for girls basketball. You got New York, California, Florida, California, Washington, D.C., California, Montana.
Wow.
Montana?
Yes.
That is interesting.
Really? Huh.
Or... sorry, Missouri. I read that wrong.
Okay. No, Missouri.
My bad.
Missouri.
Okay.
Missouri.
Brady and I are kind of scratching our heads on
yeah,
that one.
Montana. It must be some...
I've been to Montana. They got a big glacier.
Yeah.
National Park.
Sorry.
No, Missouri makes
Sorry
sense.
to keep your hopes up, Montana.
Yeah.
But and then Minnesota, New Jersey, and then South Bend, Washington rounds out the top
Number 10. Huh.
But yeah, the South Bend Washington girls, Brady, here's how good they are. They're scoring 80 points a game.
I know.
They're giving up 36. They're winning by at least almost 50 points a game.
Right. Their point spread right now, I think, is number 1 also.
Oh, it's number 1. They're winning by at least 44 a game.
That's insane.
So here are a couple of highlight games. They beat Penn 86-45. Mm-hmm. Here's the fun fact about this game. Penn started on a 10-0 run.
Okay.
And then got outscored 86-35.
It's Penn. You're talking about Penn,
I'm
right?
talking about
That
Penn
can't-
High
that-
School.
Penn.
Penn High School, yes.
Isn't Penn like what the not the what's their number? Or I know like the size of their school. Like they are
They have like 3,500 enrolled.
Oh yeah, they're a 5A school. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're big. It's a prep school. Let's just call
Right.
it like it
A
is.
small
Pretty
college.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so they beat Penn 86-45. They dropped 100 on New Prairie. They beat South Bend Clay almost by 90. Yes, almost by 90. 91-4.
four.
4.
Wow. Got nothing to say to that.
That's
There's
not
nothing
even,
to say. I'm going to look at you, Steve, and I just want to say, if your team got blown out 91-4, what would you say after the game? To your team, if you had to say anything.
Well, this is what I teach my girls. Move on. Let's move on. Because, yeah, that's hard to imagine, 91-4. You get those kind of goofy things when you're in 5th grade where somebody beats somebody 30-2. I get it. I don't know how you can only score 4 points. Yeah, because we played Clay. And Clay wasn't a good, they weren't an exception team, but they weren't that bad. And so I don't know. That just tells me South Bend, Washington just kind of put the screws to them, what they did.
Yeah.
Probably, the enemy deserves no mercy. And
I guess maybe they weren't actually. Maybe they were showing mercy there.
I don't
mean,
know, but
Their defense was must have been really. I mean, 4 points.
So yeah, South Bend Washington's defense is suffocating. They don't run any sort of trap. They're just that good. I mean, they got 3 D1 girls on their team, and one is like 6'4". So I mean, they got height.
Mm-hmm.
Then they also played the number 1 team in Michigan, and yeah, they beat them by 12.
Okay.
And then they played the number 3 team in Illinois, beat them by 6.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they're battle tested, and there is not a team in the state who's going to beat.
I was
them.
going to give them the trophy right now
Yeah,
and
you
just
may-
don't even
yeah,
bother
let's-
going down
yeah,
to Indianapolis.
So the Good Fight Sports Podcast, even though they have no sort of pull in the IHSAA or media at all, is going to award South Bend, Washington the 2022 state championship. Congratulations, South Bend girls.
Who they beat last year in the final by like 60 or something like that, if I remember correctly?
They beat
In the state final game.
They beat Silver Creek 93-35
In the state final.
the state final.
That's not right. That
After
35.
after they lost to Silver Creek the year before by 6, 54-48.
So they have shown some good improvement. I shouldn't say good improvement. Astronomical improvement. I mean, you go from, barely beating or losing to someone by 6 points to beating them by
Almost 60.
60 almost.
Right.
Like that's, and it wasn't just a fluke. It's like they're consistently putting those numbers up.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
But yeah, they so last year, so I'm going to give a shout out to South Bend Riley here. Last year when they played Washington, they lost by 100. 110-10.
That's.
I think hopefully none of our listeners think I'm kidding here. I'm not.
Yeah, go look it up. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
but this year, South Bend Riley only lost 95-13. So they scored 3 more points, and they didn't allow 100.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's kudos. I'm going to give you a round of applause for that. Good job, South Bend Riley, not losing by 100. But yeah, the South Bend girls, state champs here. You guys are way too good for anyone in the state of Indiana.
Yeah. Well, and you wonder, and I don't know where they're getting their girls from. Are these girls that are actually truly growing up within the program?
Yes.
As it is. Well, Skylar Diggins has obviously, that's where she went to school, and so there is a immediate draw to come to to Washington there, and so yeah. I mean, sometimes you look at them and go, what? But everybody's like envious of like, yeah, if we had that at our school, we sure would like to be having
Right.
that role. So as long as they're developing kids through their program, and you get a transfer every now and then, but that just leads you to a whole other topic of kids at the high school level being recruited and skipping around from school to play, and but that's a whole nother topic.
That's
That's a
a
whole
whole
nother
other
discussion,
podcast.
yeah.
Whole nother podcast.
So we're gonna jump into the college end now. We're gonna go
All right.
to college basketball. Notre Dame. We're gonna touch on Notre Dame very quickly because I do not want to talk about them all day because there's really nothing to talk about. The men's team is horrific, and that's being nice. They started off the year fairly well. They only lost one game. They beat Michigan State in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. Turned around the next game and lost to Syracuse by 1. And after that, they've only won 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, they got into their conference play and just.
And, well, here's the fun fact. They've played the worst teams in the conference besides Miami. They played Florida State, who's won like a total of 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
They played Miami, who's top in the conference. Boston College, low end of the totem pole in the conference. Carolina, mid-level. Georgia Tech, they beat Georgia Tech in overtime by 1, and they're the worst team in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
And then they lost to Syracuse again at Syracuse. So I'm on the fire Mike Bray trail. Mike Bray is the head coach of the men's team. He has been for 20-some-odd years now.
Yeah, he's been there a long time.
So I'm on the Mike Bray trail. If I ever go to a game, I'm taking a paper bag and I'm putting it over my head, and because I don't want to watch. That's how bad they are.
Why would you go to the game?
Exactly. Why would I go to the game?
I mean, you got to think though. That makes me think of you go to the game because you're a fan. You're not there to see your team win. You're just there for your team. Because like you look at say this is professional football, like the Cleveland Browns when they had their I like to call it their defeated season because
Right.
they have you have an undefeated season and then you have a season where you lose all your games, and that season fans would literally show up with bags over
Right.
their head because they can't watch the game because they're so bad. They would get blown out. We're talking about women or girls high school basketball games being like 110-10 or whatever. Well, that was happening with the Browns. They were losing by
like 40, 50 points.
50 points a game, throwing 6 interceptions and however many fumbles, and you got to wonder I couldn't go to a game as a fan. I couldn't watch. I'd be a fan, but I wouldn't be able to support. I wouldn't be able to wear clothing that shows that out in public because people would talk about it and then it would make me depressed because of how bad we are.
So that's a whole nother podcast. Can you be a fan and not support your team?
Yeah, that's another podcast.
Another podcast.
Another podcast.
Another
That's cutting too deep to the crawl there, Brady and Steve. So quickly on to some more college stuff. The national championship game against Georgia and TCU. We're talking about blowouts. We may as well talk about that blowout. That really wasn't a game. Georgia got off to a 10-0 lead pretty quickly, and then TCU goes down, scores. You think, all right, 10-7? Is it going to be a game?
Mm-hmm.
4 plays later, touchdown Georgia.
Right.
And Georgia then goes on to score the next 55 unanswered points to win 65-7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, definitely TCU went in as the underdogs, but, I seriously thought there was going to be, some chance for them to win that game, but, with Georgia winning it, last year and how good they were, and, they had a lot of those players, come back and play again, and, they were really a force to reckon with or whatever. And I thought it was probably going to be within 10, maybe 15-point game, something like that. But no, I was not expecting a 50-some point or 60, whatever it was, blowout. That's just, I don't think that's really common, especially in the national championship.
Right.
I mean, I'm used to, it being Clemson. I mean, I'm used to, Clemson. I mean, them dropping like in normal games, not in
Right.
the like 80 points on a team or something. But you go to the national championship and you're a team with a team like Georgia, and you see them do that to TCU, and man, TCU really fought to get there. Also,
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely earned their spot there. It's just they just did not, really play up to, what they had been. It seemed like.
Yeah, and it's kind of a bummer too. You just wonder if they played again, what kind of outcome would they?
Right, because I heard from someone say it's like, all right, I think we've got the 1 out of 10 national championship game. Because, if these teams play 10 times, I don't see Georgia winning by this margin again.
It'd be a lot closer.
There'd be that one game where, if everything goes right, TCU wins. If everything goes right, Georgia does what they did. And then you got the other games in between where it's going to be like maybe 1, 2, maybe 10-point win. Not saying TCU's going to win them all, but TCU would be in the game. So I think we got the 1 out of 10 game. So,
Just a bummer you did that at the national championship because
right.
how hard it is to get back, especially if they're going to expand the field is what they're talking about.
right, exactly. And so TCU belonged. I mean, I'm not saying they didn't belong. I mean, they belonged. They beat Michigan. Yeah. I was rooting for TCU all game. Beat Michigan.
Ken, you had the holy trifecta. Ohio State lost, Michigan lost, and USC lost. You were just like,
Oh, man.
you and your glory.
It was
days.
Christmas
my
for Kenny.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
the best New Year's I've ever gotten because Notre Dame won, USC lost, Michigan lost, and Ohio State lost. So I was ecstatic over New Year's. I'm not sorry to my family up in Michigan for that TCU win over Michigan. I am not sorry at all, and I never will be sorry. That's about as far as I'm going to go because if I keep going, I'm I'm going to say something. that I
No
don't
Christmas
wanna
gifts
say
for
over
you
my-
next year.
Bunch of coal for Kenny.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't like Michigan. Sorry, not sorry. But yeah, TCU belonged in the game. It's just kind of upsetting that they laid an egg, a major egg. They gave up the most points in a bowl game in FBS history, the most points in the national championship game, largest point spread in the national championship game. I mean, there's so many records that Georgia broke in that game that I don't think TCU even wants to remember.
No, those are not the ones you don't hang your banners for those.
And you want to
Yeah.
talk about transfers, though. TCU hit the transfer portal hard
Crazy.
this
Yeah.
previous year, and I think they got like 15 transfers. Meanwhile, Georgia over here with like 2. They developed their talent with high school recruits, which like, so what's better, getting transfers or developing your players? I think Georgia proved that developing your players and talent from within is what you need to do. Not saying you go out and hit the transfer portal occasionally, but you don't need to get 15 transfers to make your team good.
Well, and actually, they picked up 3 kids that were committed, 5-star recruits committed to Alabama. I think it's 3 that were committed to Alabama. They transferred. They're going to be at TCU, and I think honestly, TCU next year could really have another shot of making it there, improving it. But there's going to be a lot of other teams that I'm seeing here that are going to be just really hard to beat next year.
What I think is interesting too is that the Georgia coach, I saw this on a clip the other day, talked about that they have to remake themselves. And the phrase that we always think about is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But he said people have seen us now for 2 years, and they're going to start to figure us out. I just like the idea of coaching. Is that now not that they're going to totally change it up, but to think about maybe we're going to have to approach in a different way. And he didn't give any indication of what that looked like. I just thought that was interesting as a coach that he's aware of the fact that even though we've won 2 in a row, going back and doing the same old thing, especially at the college level, coaches are smart enough; they're going to start figuring out what you're going to do. I just thought that was interesting. Just told me as a head coach that he's already thinking about. Yeah, we're not getting away from the basics, but we might have to tweak some other things on the side. So it was interesting.
Yeah, because especially with football, it's not a sport like basketball. Because I feel like with basketball, a player that has just natural, he's very athletic, naturally, gifted for that sport. running plays is great, but you have someone that they can score every time no matter what. With football, there's a lot more players on the field, a lot more going on. So, you have to change up the plays because it's not like a player can just, automatically become great just because he's great. He has to have a good coach. He has to have, good routes, good plays. So, once they learn, these teams, I know at the professional level, they definitely watch film, a lot. And they probably are starting to do that even more in college now. But, yeah, Georgia's they have a really good playbook. But, like their coach was saying, I think that, you can't just keep the same thing. There's some changes you need to do in sports because, then, if a team can read the play, then, they can be like, okay, it's going here. And, it can completely change a football game in a moment. So, yeah.
So that begs the question. The question I've been hearing going around all of the sports shows and podcasts that I listen to is, has Georgia surpassed Alabama? So has Georgia surpassed Alabama? I'll let either one of you guys.
In what way?
Just in is Georgia now the cream of the crop in college football? How Alabama's been dominating over the past decade under Nick Saban and all that, but has Georgia overtaken Alabama for that? The cream of the crop. Okay, this is the team you need to go out and beat now, or is it still Alabama?
Brady, what do you think? I'll let you go first.
So, I would have to say that with Alabama, for a long time, they've been getting the best recruits out there. Georgia gets good recruits, but everyone wanted to go play for, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State. Those are the big colleges, in my opinion, for the, if you want to go and try to make your name known. So I think for a team like Georgia to build their team and to be where they're at now and be as good as they are, it would beg the question in my head if Alabama was so much, if they had just good players, if it was more they built the team, or if it was more they got a lot of good players and had, good seasons. Because, a team like Georgia, it's not just, the players. They have great, coaching. Like, it's incredible. And nothing against Nick Saban. He's a great. He'll go down as one of the best coaches in college football. But I really like what Georgia's doing, and I would say it's very close. It's very, very, very close because you could go either way with this argument. Alabama has been the place to go to, and Georgia's starting to become that place, and they're starting to become as good as everybody. And I think if they win, another national championship, they don't even have to win the next national championship. If they win another one in the next year or two, that definitely cements in my head, that they're probably better all time than Alabama, just from, I think. But that's just my seeing. And unless Alabama can, turn around and, take a younger squad or take, not as star-studded heavy. Not that Georgia wasn't. Georgia had a lot of good players. They're going to have a bunch of first-round draft first-rounders
for sure
going, but I'm not sure. What do you think, Steve?
I still think Alabama is the program because something about what happened a few years ago. Everybody thought Clemson was going to be the next, and they did well, and it's just hard to repeat. And if I look at Alabama, and again, I'm not an Alabama fan. Not against him or whatever. I'm not like Kenny. I don't hate anybody. As a pastor, you really can't hate anybody. People I like more, let's put it that way. But I still think Alabama is the program that you can measure yourself to. But like Brady said, if they win a couple more, then maybe. But because I think that's what everybody a few years back, they were getting ready to climb, Clemson is the new Alabama, and we saw how quickly, not that it went south, but how it's just hard anymore in the NFL or the college. I say NFL because it's about like semi-pro ball anymore, with all the money and all the portals, and kids don't have to sit out anymore. Basically, just get in the portal and I'm over there. So anyway, for what it's worth, I still think Alabama is the program that you're measuring against.
Yeah, it's a really close argument. As Brady said, it can go both ways. I mean, it's so close, at least at the moment, between these two schools that, yes, Alabama is still almost that the team to beat. They are like the cream of the crop. They're usually almost always in the national championship game. So yeah, I mean, Alabama's almost a deadlock to be, that team that's always going to be there. But now it's the flip side. It's like, okay, Georgia, it's been there 2 years in a row. They've won back-to-back national championships.
Right.
And, I mean, they've beaten Alabama already in the national championship, and they just beat TCU by 55 or 50-some-odd points. So now it's like, okay, I think it's pretty close now. So, I mean, it can go either way. And I kind of find it funny that, Kirby Smart's the head coach because, fun fact, he was the Alabama defensive coordinator in 2011 and 2012 for the two national championships that they won in a row at Alabama. And, yes, Kirby Smart's defense demolished Notre Dame for what it's worth. I mean, it was hard to watch. But I mean, you just look at his Kirby Smart's defense, and just it's suffocating. And how it was at Alabama, it was suffocating. And it's like you kind of see the flip side of him being a head coach to a defensive coordinator. He probably has a lot of pull in the defense, but yeah, I would have to say probably it's if Georgia wins another national championship, it not next year, in the years coming, and they make it 3 in like 5 years. Let's just call it as it is. Move over Alabama. It's time to beat Georgia. And I mean, Georgia has a good recruiting class coming in next year. So I mean, they're probably gonna be back in the playoff. But in my homer side, I want Notre Dame to be in there. So
No, but actually, the whole Clemson thing, I see it as, Clemson's a solid. I mean, they have a solid team.
Oh yeah.
I mean, their defense is still. I mean, I would say it's still a lot better.
it was in the top 10 for this year, so it was really good.
Yeah, it's just when you lose a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, I mean, he was one of the best. I mean, not just pure numbers, not even just watching, just pure numbers. Great quarterback. I mean, it was great. And I'm not a Clemson fan at all, but it was definitely great to see it. They won with him. They won, was it 2 national championships?
Yeah, 2 national championships.
And
I think they were there 4 years in a row.
Their record was, I'm pretty sure, he only lost 2 games with Clemson, both not national championships. He lost 1 regular season, and they lost to Joe. He only won 1 national championship because they lost to LSU.
Right.
Right, they lost to Joe Burrow,
Right,
but he only lost
Burrow, right.
2 games in his whole career with Clemson. He lost to LSU, and then they lost in a regular season game to somebody, I think. But really, talk about a great college career.
Right.
I mean, now he's in the NFL, and that's another thing, man. The Jags. Did you see that?
I went to bed last night thinking that was done. I woke up this morning and go, they won. It was just like the flip. He had 4 interceptions in the first half, and they threw 4 TD passes in the second half. It's like, again, yeah, that's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother thing, because that, I mean, I started watching right before halftime. They scored a touchdown right before half, and I thought, okay, well, they're not going to win, so I'm going to go play some video games. Well,
I know. I went to bed.
I come back out, and I'm like, oh, hey, it's 14. They got 14 points now. Oh, well. And then the Jags had the ball, and it's like, oh, I'll watch the drive, just, whatever. Score a touchdown.
I know.
And I'm like, oh, wow, it's a 9-point game.
Yeah.
Or 20, it was 10 point because I went for a 2-point and didn't get it, but I was like, oh, well, I'll see Herbert, take it down the field like he usually does, get a touch. No, 4 and out. I was like, what's happening here? Touchdown. 4 minutes left in the game. It was an amazing game, and I'm kind of glad the Jags moved on. I mean, they're playing the Chiefs, right?
You believe so.
Jags
yes.
Chiefs. That's gonna be gonna be a game.
That'd be rough.
Yeah, it'll be rough, but
yeah, so going on, it's like Trevor Lawrence was 34-2 as a starting quarterback.
Right.
Starting quarterback at Clemson.
Right.
So, all right, with that, we're gonna wrap up the Good Fight Sports Podcast. Sorry for not introducing everybody, by the way.
It's all right.
My name's Kenny. I'm here with Brady Master and Steve Cox. Sorry to introduce everyone so late, but hey, we just jumped right into all the topics. So with that, we're gonna wrap it up for myself, Steve, and Brady. This is Kenny Cramer saying so long, everybody.
Hey everyone, we hope you enjoyed the episode today. If you did, you should go check out the rest of our episodes on our website at ccflugnutspodcast.com.
You can also listen to us wherever you find your podcasts.
Follow us on our Facebook and Instagram pages by searching the Lugnuts Podcast Group.
Thanks for listening, and remember, Jesus loves you,
And so do we.